So this is Rahul. अनि म चाहिँ खासमा ब्लकचेन र वेब थ्रीतिर हेरिरहेको भनेको इट्स बिन लाइक 2 years. अनि ब्लकचेन खासमा वेब थ्रीतिर मेन चाहिँ आई नोटिस देयर आर 2 प्रब्लम्स होइन. मेन चाहिँ एउटा प्रब्लम भनेको एजुकेसनतिर हो अनि अर्को प्रब्लम चाहिँ जति पनि प्रोडक्ट्सहरू बिल्ड भइरहेको छ यो इकोसिस्टममा त्यहाँ चाहिँ एउटा युजर एक्सपिरियन्सको चाहिँ जुन 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 लेभलको वेब टूको प्रोडक्ट र सर्भिसेस एप्लिकेसनहरूमा हुन्छ त्यो लेभलको छैन. सो I decided to work on the education part initially. So I've been advocating for this technology for like about 2 years. You could have go So and they we also built a project Kaspa Nepal ko specifically and we were working on that. And glad to be here with my friend Prashant, and we'll both be presenting blockchain for different aspects in global context or even Nepal context. So let's begin. So I believe many of you have heard of this incident where Lalita Nivas land scam. So यहाँ चाहिँ के भएको थियो भने the land ownership जुन गभर्मेन्टले ओन गरिरहेको थियो, which was illegally transferred by land brokers to few business groups of Nepal. That was like 114 tokenage, which amounted to billions of Nepali rupees. So सबैजना सायद फ्यामिलियर हुनुहुन्छ होला यो इन्सिडेन्टबाट, एन्ड नट जस्ट दिस इन्सिडेन्ट, तर यस्तो खालको इन्सिडेन्टहरू आइरहेको हुन्छ न्युजमा अनि हामी चाहिँ हेरिरहेको हुन्छौँ. बट डु वी एभर वन्डर कि ओके वाइ डु इन्सिडेन्ट लाइक दिस ह्यापन, कता लुपहोल्स हुन्छ, कता प्रब्लम हुन्छ, एन्ड वाट्स द प्रब्लम विथ थिङ्स लाइक दिस, वाइ डज दिस ह्यापन इन द फर्स्ट प्लेस? डु वी वन्डर? Like most of the time we do not really care, but this is what we'll figure out. Like what is the situation अझै खासमा के भएको हुन्छ भन्ने कुरा. So we'll figure this out throughout this presentation. So let's say when land registered हुन्छ, the land register is just record in a ledger of who owns what in a centralized manner. So to ledger भनेको it could be physical ledger एउटा register भनौँ, or it could be डिजिटल लेजर. तर एसेन्सियली चाहिँ त्यो लेजरमा चाहिँ के हुन्छ भने कि मैले चाहिँ यति जग्गा ओन गरिरहेको छु भन्ने कुरा त्यहाँ खासमा भनौँ न रेकर्ड गरेको हुन्छ इन अ सेन्ट्रलाइज म्यानर. सो इफ ल्यान्डकै केसमा देयर इज एन इन्टिटी इन गभर्मेन्ट, नेपाल गभर्मेन्टको कुनै एउटा इन्टिटी छ हु इज रेस्पोन्सिबल फर यो ल्यान्डको रेकर्डहरू मेन्टेन गर्ने पार्टमा. सो अब एउटा सेन्ट्रलाइज म्यानरमा कुनै पनि एउटा रेकर्डलाई मेन्टेन गरिरहेको छ भने द्याट मिन्स देयर इज समवन इन चार्ज अफ मेन्टेनिङ इट होइन. त्यो लेजरमा इफ म ट्रान्सफर गरिरहेको छु, म कसैलाई बेचिरहेको छु भने देयर सुड बी समवन हु ह्याभ टु लाइक make changes to that ledger होइन. सो कुनै एकजना भन्न मतलब द ग्रुप अफ पिपल हु आर रेस्पोन्सिबल त्यो लेजर मेन्टेन गर्नको लागि, त्यहाँ एडिट गर्नको लागि. सो अनि त्यो कस्तो जुन वेमा चाहिँ यसलाई खासमा मेन्टेन गरेको हुन्छ, अथवा त्यो एकजना मान्छे हुनसक्छ, अर गभर्मेन्ट माइट हेभ असाइन लाइक 10 इन्डिभिजुअल टु लुक आफ्टर द्याट. सो त्यो यो वेले सेन्ट्रलाइज वेमा गभर्न हुन्छ. सो एनीवन लाइक दे क्यान मेक एनी चेन्जेस टु इट होइन. र हामी कसैले थाहा हुँदैन होइन. लाइक नो बडी विल नो, नट इभन द ओनर. इफ आई ओन कुनै एउटा ल्यान्ड होइन, कुनै एउटा प्लट, एन्ड दे क्यान मेक चेन्जेस टु द्याट लेजर, दे क्यान सिम्पली ट्रान्सफर टु समवन एल्स, र मलाई केही पनि थाहा हुँदैन. दे क्यान सिम्पली म्यानिपुलेट द्याट लेजर. द्याट मिन्स if कुनै मान्छे, if someone get into the power, they can simply bribe those individual, those people with money or whatever, and they can simply make changes to it. And again, because it is controlled and governed in a closed ecosystem where there's like 10 people or 10 individuals are responsible and to laser maintain garnako lagi, because it is governed त्यस्तो वेमा, it becomes very easy to manipulate. So that means someone can sell your land and run away with your money without without even knowing what just happened. And it's not just the case with land, but everything else we own and have. For example, modern life consists of large part of intelligent database, like your identity. Like I'm a Nepali citizen. यो चाहिँ खासमा के हो? Like it's nothing but a record somewhere. Nepal government को कुनै एउटा पार्टमा there is a record that Rahul is a Nepali citizen. This is nothing. If that record is removed by someone, if someone, whoever is responsible to record ko like maintain गर्ने, whoever that is responsible for that, if all of a sudden he decided that I do not want him to, like, I just want to throw him out, and he can simply just go and make changes to that laser, and then the record is removed in a way that I have no way to prove I was a Nepali citizen. So not just identity, like money in bank and our property that I just discussed and share of stock. So all of these are very integral part of our lives. identity, money, property, and everything. And they are all stored in a database that someone else control. So the problem with this database is that we do not have any control over them. There are certain individual or a group of people who are in charge of that particular ledger or maintaining that to database, and they can make any changes whenever they want without us knowing that, and without us having that sense of accountability or sense of, okay, म चाहिँ कसरी प्रुभ गरौँ होइन, that I was part of something होइन. So like they can manipulate त्यो लेजरहरू त्यो होइन. And यसलाई चाहिँ अझै फर्दर एक्सटेन्ड गर्नको लागि लेट्स टेक एउटा ब्याङ्कको एनालोजी होइन. जस्तै फर इक्जाम्पल तपाईँले मलाई 10,000 रुपिज ट्रान्सफर गर्न भन्नुभयो होइन. सो मैले चाहिँ के गर्छु भने I'll call my bank. Nowadays we do not do, but we simply initiate the transaction through our mobile. तर एसेन्सियली हामी चाहिँ के गर्छौँ भने we call our bank and we'll tell them कि मेरो एकाउन्टबाट 10,000 रुपिज मेरो साथीको अकाउन्टमा पठाउनु पर्ने हो. सो ब्याङ्कले चाहिँ के गर्छ भने फर्स्ट अफ अल द भेरिफाई कि मसँग 10,000 रुपिज छ भने कि नै मेरो एकाउन्टमा. इफ छ भने उसले के गर्छ भने मेरो अकाउन्टमा दे विल सबट्र्याक्ट 10,000 रुपिज फ्रम माई अकाउन्ट एन्ड देन एड 10,000 रुपिज जसलाई म भनिरहेको छु लाइक टु माई फ्रेन्ड्स अकाउन्ट. सो वाट ब्याङ्कले यहाँ के गर्यो, एसेन्सियली फर्स्ट अफ अल भ्यालिडेटेड कि मसँग त्यति पैसा छ कि नै, एन्ड देन दे सबट्र्याक्टेड 10,000 rupees from my account and then added that too. So simply bankले validate, add or subtract गर्यो यहाँ होइन. But what if there is a person responsible for maintaining that ledger, you know? So what if that person entered more than the amount I asked? What if they enter like 20,000 or 30,000? It could be by mistake or intentionally, and so like they can simply do it, you know? And we have no way to like keep things like this accountable. Or let's say the database where our ledger and records are stored got hacked or destroyed, or they manipulate our ledger in a way like whoever responsible for maintaining हाम्रो ledger to bank ma, there is an individual or a group of people responsible for doing that. What if they manipulated the ledger in a way that says कि मैले ब्याङ्कलाई 5 लाख रुपिस दिनुपर्ने छ, which I do not, right? But they can manipulate, right? तर हामी चाहिँ यस्तो इन्सिडेन्ट why we do not face हाम्रो daily life ma? Because it doesn't happen to us because we are broke. Like 5 lakh rupees, like they do not want to risk their business that worth crores and like in millions of dollars, right? So, but at bigger level, things like this happens, and it can happen to us, it can happen to anyone, because things like these are governed in a closed ecosystem, and then they are operated in a central way ma त्यो operate भइरहेको हुन्छ. And त्यो मात्र नभएर there are so much risk and cost associated with अहिलेको जुन पनि ट्रेडिसनल वेमा जुन ब्याङ्किङ सिस्टम चलिरहेको छ. जस्तै जति पनि यो हामी ट्रान्जेक्सन गर्छौँ लाइक ग्लोबली बेट लाइक हाम्रो नेसनल लेभलमा अथवा क्रस बोर्डर पेमेन्ट्सहरूको लागि अराउन्ड $200 billion आर लस्ट इन ट्रान्जेक्सन फिज होइन. इमेजिन त्यो $200 billion every year not going to those institutions and going back to those amount of value being accrued to us as a consumer, right? If I'm transacting, so त्यो चाहिँ value त्यो ब्याङ्कलाई नभएर imagine those value being accrued to ourselves, होइन. $200 billion every year is a huge deal होइन इकोनोमिकमा. Or let's say risk of censorship. Like why do bank need to know the purpose of my cash deposit? If I'm sending money to my friend or if I'm sending money to someone, then why do bank need to know who I'm sending it to? Or why do bank need to know all the places that I'm spending my money, right? So like we become vulnerable to them. They know more about like us, like where we are spending, where we are not, how the financial activities are. They know everything about that, and they can censor it whenever they want. But we need privacy, right, in terms of spending our money. So we do not have that level of privacy here. And they control our money. Like most of the time, we do not have freedom to use our own money. In case of accountability, because they are governed in a closed ecosystem, we have no way to like keep them accountable. We do not know hamro money, how do they handle and stuff. They make a lot of money from our money, and actually they charge us money to us having to keep our money there, right? So there are so many banks where we have to give them money in like if you are putting our money there, in one way or the other, we are actually paying bank to just put our money there, and they are actually making a lot of money with that particular money. So we do not have these aspects. And then simply why I'm not allowed to cash out more than 1 lakh from an ATM in a day. Like technically, that's my money, right? And I have to have that freedom to cash out whatever amount I want whenever I want. But why do bank put these kind of limits? And as I mentioned this one earlier, that what bank essentially does is validate our transaction and then add and subtract. So what they actually does is they maintain our ledger on our they maintain our ledger on our behalf. But now the question that we need to ask, well, can we maintain our ledger on ourselves without relying on this bank to do that for us? And blockchain is the answer. Blockchain is a technology that allow us to maintain our ledger on ourselves without relying on bank to do that for us, but in a peer-to-peer manner. So if you look at the graph, there is traditional system where there is a sender and then there is a receiver, and between that there are two different banks, bank of sender and then bank of receiver, and there are so many payment companies in between. So whenever we transact or something, so whatever transaction we are doing, the reason it's being so costly to transact cross-border payments case, it is because there are so many parties involved the beach. But if you look at decentralized financial system where there is a sender and then there is a receiver, and then there is a peer-to-peer network where anyone can participate and they can simply maintain that ledger, right? So I talked earlier about what about the database getting destroyed or getting hacked. So that's actually possibility when the database are managed in a centralized way. It can be censored, it can be manipulated, it can be hacked or destroyed. But in case of decentralized financial system, the same database is not recorded it's not recorded or not maintained in just one place, but it is distributed across thousands of computers across the world. So even some of them got destroyed or got hacked, you can still keep up or go forward with the remaining one. So the chances of like server down and then things getting hacked is very less in this kind of decentralized financial system. So blockchain is simply a database. We can simply database ko wele pani herna sakincha. Tara it had some additional properties like distributed ledger. So it's not maintained at a central way, but it is distributed across many computers. So anyone can be a part of decentralized finance protocol haruma, and they can maintain that ledger and they can validate that transaction. So even if I am like if a general manche bhayera pani, I can simply be a part of that node and then validate the transaction. And it is actually maintained in a peer-to-peer network way. So there is no like hierarchy system or whatever the bank is being operated in a central way. There's a peer-to-peer. It actually every transaction and all things are validated and done through peer-to-peer manner. And then there is a consensus mechanism. So the reason there is consensus mechanism so that everyone like who do not even know each other, who do not even trust each other, can now come together to achieve certain outcomes, and they are incentivized to do that. And there is aspect of cryptography. So let's say like in order to do any transaction, like we have to have our like there is public key and then there is private key, right? So if someone do not have my private key, they cannot simply initiate transaction or anything. But let's say in case of like a bank case like even if we have our password, they can simply manipulate. यस्तो यो केसमा चाहिँ के हुन्छ भने if I have that private key, then only I can initiate the transaction, only I can initiate मेरो ट्रान्जेक्सनहरू. So these aspects actually make it revolutionary database अहिलेको टाइममा. So blockchain को certain feature को कुराहरू गर्दाखेरि, so यसले चाहिँ यसको narrative चाहिँ के हो भने we do not want to trust, like don't trust, सबै कुरा चाहिँ verify हुनु पर्यो यहाँ. So the way this database is designed, distributed ledger technology, the way it is designed, there is no single point of failure because there is no single database. It is distributed like across the world. So just for example, Bitcoin, there are thousands of people in that network, and the same data is distributed across thousands of networks. So this part of like a couple thousand node destroy bhayo pani, hack bhayo pani, we still have a lot of so many thousands of nodes from where we can initiate further. And there is no intermediary. Everything is done in a peer-to-peer manner. And because of cryptography, to hamro public key or private key case, it brings a lot of security aspect to it. And then there is transparency. Like we all can see what's going on to protocol level. We all can see all the transaction being done and stuff. So it's very transparent. And it is also like immutability. So like if I did a certain transaction, there is no way to like the transaction happened, and there is no way to delete that stuff. So because we cannot do that, there is no way for anyone to manipulate those things. And we control that because there is no central authority. So all the users who are part of that particular network, they have that control. And even it is authentic because everything is transparent and open source. And even in case of faster settlement, it's a way faster. Like for example, let's say in case you had to transfer 100 crore to your friend, and if you go to your traditional banking or hisable, it might take like 5 6 months, and you have to pay a lot of fees. If you want to do that on blockchain, it can the settlement can be done in like 10 20 minutes, and in like couple of hundreds of rupees, the transaction costless. So this kind of aspect this technology offers. And you know what? We are living in an insane world where we can trust the dog blindly, but not a human. And the main contribution of blockchain in the world of database and bookkeeping is that it replaces the trust factor from human to code and system. Even land cookies, there are certain individual responsible for maintaining to records. But when we replace that with is the blockchain technology, so now it becomes transparent. Like we do not have to trust exana manchilai. We have to trust the like we can go on trusting whatever the algorithm is, whatever the code is that we can see, right? So people who do not know each other and who do not trust each other can now come together to coordinate in achieving certain outcomes. And the main goal is to reach a consensus all together where there is a single source of truth, and all the nodes in the network are incentivized to act honest. If they don't, they have no space in the network. So how it all started? So like in 2010, 2007, 8, when financial crisis was going on, there was a guy, or let's say it was an individual or a group that was named as anonymous called Satoshi Nakamoto, who released this white paper called peer-to-peer electronic cash system that happened to be Bitcoin. So peer-to-peer version of electronic cash sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution that solved that happened to be solution to the double spending problem, which can be done in a peer-to-peer manner. And it has like consensus mechanism called proof of work that enhance its security, and that's how through proof of work it brings a lot of people to do to coordinate on doing something. So it started from there. So अब बिटकोइन चाहिँ के भयो भने Bitcoin was a special purpose blockchain protocol. अहिले चाहिँ Bitcoin is becoming an alternative global currency, or we can also regard this as medium of exchange or store of value. Then Ethereum चाहिँ फेरि किन आयो? Like what's the point of having Ethereum, होइन? So 2014 तिर, so there were a lot of people working your Bitcoin, or like they were observing it from very close, and then they realize not only finance को केसमा, not only money को केसमा, but there are so many other part of world where the problem is same. Like there are central entity, things are being governed and managed with a control in a closed ecosystem. So same with money, there are so many, like for example, I talked about land registry ko kuraharu. Even things like this need that level of transparency. So Ethereum actually यसले चाहिँ खासमा चाहिँ के गर्दै भने blockchain, while Bitcoin was a special purpose blockchain, Ethereum चाहिँ के गर्दै भने यसले चाहिँ blockchainलाई नै programmable बनाइदियो by introducing the smart contract को कुराहरू. And then यसले चाहिँ different standardहरू ल्यायो, ERC20, ERC721 for NFT, like for fungible token and for non-fungible token. So fungible token could be like for example, let's say if I have 500 and you have 500, so it's fungible, but there are so many things in the world which is like unique, which is not fungible actually. So they bring different standards for which can now be integrated on top of blockchain. And Ethereum ko त्यो innovation, there are different decentralized applications started being built on it, and it brought the idea of DeFi, NFTs, and DAOs. And then it actually gave us the vision that we can even build the next generation of internet on top of blockchain itself. So that's how it started. And the internet as we know it today, Web 2, it's the second iteration of internet, had serious problems. And the potential of blockchain is now going beyond database to powering the next generation of internet. That is Web3. So let's say there are more than 5 billion people who uses the internet as of October 2022, which is approximately 65.5% of world's population are on the internet. So what they do, they like to socialize, they use Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. For trade, they use Amazon. हाम्रो केसमा we use Daraj, but I'm talking about global context because Web3 is actually global narrative. And transportation case we use Uber, payment को PayPal, travel case Airbnb. The problem is all those companies are owned by 10 people, or if not 10, then maybe 20 people. So what? What's the problem of like 10 company own गरिरहेको छ सबै कुरा भने खासमा what's the problem हैन? So problem चाहिँ के हो भने us like 5 billion people relying on 20 people to do all those activities is very problematic. It could be like you might have heard of this news of Donald Trump को बेला त्यो इन्फर्मेसनलाई म्यानिपुलेट गरेको थियो भोटिङको बेलामा चाहिँ. So because त्यो फेसबुक जस्तो इन्स्टिट्युसनहरू इट इज गभर्न इन एउटा क्लोज इकोसिस्टम सेन्ट्रल वेमा देयर इज अ सिइओ हैन. So someone can simply bribe people like him and they can simply informationलाई नै पुरा म्यानिपुलेट गरेर मान्छेलाई के हेर्नु पर्ने and they can simply show a different thing हैन. And because it is सेन्ट्रल वेमा गभर्न भइरहेको छ हामीलाई थाहा छैन what is right and what is wrong because we cannot see, it's not transparent, it's not open source. Can Facebook will never open source their algorithm, त्यो कसरी काम गर्छ वो त्यो हाम्रो कस्तो कस्तो डेटाहरू उनीहरूले एक्सेस गर्छ, they will never open source यस्तो कुराहरू. So हाम्रो लाइफ चाहिँ our life is very dependent on यस्तो प्लेटफर्महरूमा हैन. We are dependent on them and they know more about us than any state or government, and in most cases we do know about ourselves. Like for example, if you text your friend that I need to buy a new shoes, and the next day you start getting ads of different shoes products, right? So how does things like this happen? Because they know they are censoring our data in a way we could not even imagine, right? And they will never open source their algorithm because we can simply see that how they are manipulating it. So and that's why we need, and they have domination over us, like information ko case ma host, socialization ko case ma host, trade payments and everything, and these are very integral part of our life. And we 5 billion people cannot trust like these 10 people or 20 people that they will act on our best interests. It's not going to happen because whenever the problem with us is whenever we get into a power, we always misuse that. And it's happening for quite a long time, and we all know that. So let's say you have got a family of kids like that. And would you like a tech company to have a God's eye view of everything you, your son, and your daughter, and everything you do in your home? Do you want them to look at everything, whatever you're doing for the next 20 years? Even if they told you, don't worry, it will be encrypted. We do not want, right? And that's why Mark Zuckerberg tapes his laptop's camera, because he knows that game. Even my camera is off, they can simply access it and they can simply see what am I doing, what kind of conversation I'm having. So this kind of privacy issue we have with current internet, and blockchain is actually envisioning to open source these kind of things and bring users more into control and not an individual. So the bigger problem is not like Mark Zuckerberg or Jack or whoever the main CEO or let's say owner of those platforms. Khasma, any system that generate this much of power, no state or government can actually fumble that. No state or government can actually become more powerful than system like that. So if you have got a global eye view of everything on the planet, like imagine how powerful you become, and this company have become that way. And let's talk about value. Like 0.33% of YouTube creator earn a full-time income, 94% of medium writer earn under $100 a month, and 96.3% of the freelancer on Fiverr make less than $500 a month, and only the top 1% of author on Amazon earn 1,000 in a single month. And like they are multi-billion-dollar companies, all the companies, and some of them even worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Then why do these numbers look so bleak? Like $100 or $1,000 as a creator, we are getting that very low amount of money. So the vast majority of wealth goes to them, the platform. They are good at one thing, enabling creator to create and then extracting all the values. And the $1 billion that pump up this stock, the prices, belong to the creator, us who are creating content and helping those platform shape गर्नको लागि. We create value and then they make fortune, and we have no way हाम्रो data like they can do whatever they want with our data in order to monetize that, because that's the only monetization model they have up until now. So the problem is they take most out of the value creation. Like Google takes it cut, YouTube takes it cut, Facebook takes 100%. Like you are getting nothing out of content you are creating on Facebook. And on some platform like TikTok, you can make some person, but whatever value you create, out of whatever value you create, but again, most of the value goes to त्यो प्लेटफर्महरूलाई नै. एन्ड अगेन द फन्डामेन्टल कुरा चाहिँ के छ भने हामी जति पनि कन्टेन्टहरू क्रिएट गरिरहेको छौँ, वाट एभर वी आर क्रिएटिङ, वी डु नट ह्याभ digital right. Like they can simply decide that they do not want you to be on their platform, and तपाईँले 4 years 5 years लगाएर जति पनि कुरा त्यहाँ बनाउनु भएको छ, could be followers, a lot of content, it can simply go away. Like it can simply vanish in a second if they decide to ban you from their platform. So we do not have the data ownership and this kind of accountability in those platforms. So Web3 is on its way to becoming the next generation of internet, where your personal data is no longer the main currency. The internet is no longer ruled by tech giants, an internet for you, and an internet for us. From internet that is centralized and owned by an individual or institution, governed in a closed ecosystem and value extractive in nature, to internet that is decentralized, open source, verifiable, trustless, transparent, permissionless, and owned by its users. And all of these are actually possible by blockchain technology, the way it distributes things and the way it provides the ownership to the user, the way it open source everything and makes everything transparent. And that's why we think that blockchain is now showing potential beyond the database part bhanda pani. It can actually shape the next generation of internet. And I've heard this somewhere. The 21st century neither belongs to Silicon Valley nor the United States. It belongs to the internet, because internet has 5 billion people, and the internet would become the largest GDP sometime in the late 20s or 30s. And crypto could be the largest dominant financial system of this world, because crypto is very native to the internet. And the next iteration of internet, where we are moving again, Web3, if you could build things like this on top of blockchain, and when we have native financial system, which is crypto, like it could become the world's largest GDP in 2030, because no country have like this many people. No country have, but internet does. Yeah, so this is it from my side, and further it will be carried out by Prashant. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rahul. It was a nice presentation. So we will like to move forward, but before that, there is one question. I request you to please reply this one by Manish Tamrakar.
Okay.
So his question is about the application in banking, whether it is practical to have a cross-border payment or international transaction, and also he is asking about the local fund transfer.
Yeah. Okay.
So what's the scenario on the blockchain for this one?
Yeah. Okay. So the thing is, तपाईँ यो जुन क्रस बोर्डर पेमेन्टको कुरा गर्नुहुन्छ होइन, सो बाहिरबाट whenever we are हामी वायर ट्रान्सफर जुन पैसा पठाउँछौँ होइन, इट टेक्स लाइक 3-4 days होइन, र ट्रान्जेक्सन कस्ट पनि धेरै नै हाई हुन्छ होइन. सो जब सबै कुरा डिजिटल नै भएपछि किन 3 दिन लाग्छ, एन्ड वाइ डु वी हेभ टु पे द्याट मच अफ ट्रान्जेक्सन फिजमा होइन, जब सबै कुरा डिजिटल छ होइन. र जति पनि यो मनीको फ्लो छ होइन, like 95% of them are digits in computer होइन, like 5% मात्र क्यास छ होइन. त्यो पनि किन यति टाइम लागिरहेको छ होइन. सो ब्लकचेन खासमा मलाई चाहिँ के लागिरहेको छ, लाइक वाट वी बिलिभ होइन, एन्ड द इथोस एन्ड न्यारेटिभ अफ ब्लकचेन, क्रस बोर्डर पेमेन्टको लागि दिस इज समथिङ that we need. There are also there are 2 companies actually in Nepal working for this as well. They have raised like $12 million as far as I have heard of it. So cross border payment ko part ma chai it could become really revolutionary. And also अब कुरा जुन हाम्रो लोकल फन्ड ट्रान्सफरको केसमा छ भने, I think we can even leverage that over there. Like there is nothing, there is no inefficiency, there is no problem with like using your DLT technology to make त्यो फन्ड ट्रान्सफरको कुराहरू ट्रान्सप्यारेन्ट एफिसियन्ट बिकज त्यो सेन्ट्रलाइज वे भन्दा पनि it becomes more efficient the way I believe. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rahul.